As a young person in a city like Montreal, we see a lot of our peers who end up falling on a bad path and sometimes dragging others with them. How can a youngster save himself from that and maybe save others too? The first answer is that the person has to beg Allah for guidance. We need to understand that, my brothers and sisters, guidance is not guaranteed. No one has a right. It doesn't matter if your mom and dad were Muslim, if your grandparents were Muslim, you don't have a guarantee of guidance and Islam for you. So what you must do is beg Allah Azza wa Jal to guide you. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. The second thing that you must remember is the hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, احفظ الله يحفظك. If you guard what Allah commanded you to guard, Allah will keep you safe. So if you guard your prayer, and you keep your tongue safe, and you don't fall into the haram with regard to az-zina and what is related to it, then Allah will keep you safe. احفظ الله يحفظك. From the advice that I will give to this young person is, first of all, secure yourself before you then go on to other people. Because Allah Azza wa Jal said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. So he began with yourself. Save yourselves and then your families. And from the means is for a person to recognize why they or their friends are falling into this problem. So is it because of bad company? Is it because of confusion about the religion? Is it because they're not being strict on their prayers? Is it because they're not learning anything about Islam? Identify where this trap is coming from and then take the steps to remedy it. And never ever forget what the Prophet ﷺ said, الْمَرْءُ عَلَى دِينِ خَلِيلِهِ فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلُ. A person is upon the religion of their close friend, so let everyone look at who they took as a close friend. As for giving da'wah to other people, it's a beautiful thing, but you must first of all secure yourself. So you're not putting yourself in danger, because either you're giving da'wah or someone is giving da'wah to you. And you give da'wah through your words, through your actions, publicly and privately, with those people that you see them going wrong, but you always remember to have a shafaqah, to have care for those people. I look at that person, I see myself, that's my brother, that's me. That guy who's on the street, he's doing drugs, he's running off with girls, he's doing whatever, that's me I'm looking at. I see myself in that person. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you believe till you love for your brother what you love for yourself. So the way you deal with that person is exactly how you would want to be dealt with. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Social media has been a poison to our faith. All kinds of podcasts that downgrade women and put hurtful views. Which asks the question, does Allah love men and women equally without placing women beneath men? It's a very beautiful answer to this question. The beautiful answer to this question is, number one, in two ayat only will answer your question. The first one, وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا. Your Lord will not oppress anyone ever. There is no way that Allah Azza wa Jalla will oppress any man or any woman. You can take that as a guarantee. Never will Allah oppress anyone. And the second is the statement of Allah Azza wa Jalla, وَلَا تَتَمَنَّوْا مَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بِهِ بَعْضَكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ لِلرِّجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا اكْتَسَبُوا وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا اكْتَسَبْنَ وَاسْأَلُوا اللَّهَ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمًا. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, do not seek to get what Allah gave some of you over others. If Allah preferred men in certain things, Don't try and run after that. That's not where your Jannah is. And if a man says that he admires or he wishes for something that Allah gave to a woman, that's not where your Jannah is. Allah has chosen men to have some responsibilities and He's given them a chance for reward. And Allah has chosen women to have some responsibilities and Allah has given women a chance for reward. Ask Allah for His grace. And so I say, there is no doubt that Allah Azza wa Jal preferred men in certain things, no doubt about it. But Allah also preferred people in lineage, and Allah also preferred people in wealth, and Allah also preferred people in so many things. Should I spend my whole life crying because I'm not from Quraysh? So, didn't Allah prefer Quraysh over the other tribes? Should I spend my life saying, why am I not from Quraysh? Why am I not from Quraysh? La wallah, Allah gave me what He gave me, now I have an equal opportunity to do what? To earn Jannah. So where is Abu Lahab, who is from Quraysh, who is from the family of the Prophet ﷺ, right next to him in lineage? Where is Abu Lahab? سَيَصْلَى نَارًا ذَاتَ لَهَبٍ. He's in the hellfire. So his lineage didn't benefit him. How many times will women be above men in Jannah? The Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, will be in a level of Jannah you can't describe how far above the men of this world that we are thinking about. So this idea of Allah preferring the men in certain aspects, الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ, giving them responsibility over women, that issue doesn't mean anything, it doesn't bother us. Because when it comes to Jannah, you both have an equal chance for Jannah. That's what matters. In this dunya, I'm a slave, you're a slave. You can't change that, and I can't change that. For example, a man has to obey who? Or who? His mother. So now we have a man obeying a woman. And the woman, she has to obey her husband. And the woman is obeying, but all of us are obeying Allah, so it doesn't matter in the end. What matters is an equal opportunity for Jannah. Just like it doesn't matter regarding the lineage that Allah preferred some over others, it doesn't matter that Allah preferred men over women in some aspects of responsibility and things like that. That's up to Allah. Allah does whatever He wants. فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. But women and men have an equal opportunity for Jannah. وَاسْأَلُ اللَّهَ الْفَضْلِ. Ask Allah for His bounty. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Muslim medical professionals are faced with many patients facing mental illnesses and issues. How should we balance the medical and Islamic approaches to these problems, especially non-Muslims who might not be receptive to Islamic solutions? It's very difficult to manage as a Muslim professional in a non-Muslim environment, because a lot of responsibilities are there that it's not easy for you to necessarily share your religion with them. First of all, I would say to you, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Do the best you can. Share as much as you can. If you're absolutely not allowed to say it with your mouth, at least say it with your actions. At least say it with the solutions that you give to them. As for if you are allowed, then medical approaches are a permissible means of solving a problem, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not decreed any sickness except that He decreed for it a cure except death. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, تَدَاوُ وَلَا تَدَاوُ بِالْحَرَامِ. Take a medicine, but don't take the medicine that's haram. And there are times when sometimes we know that the medicine we're prescribing actually is not going to really change the situation of that patient. To be honest, what we're just doing is suppressing the symptoms a little bit just to make their life a little bit better. And we know that those medications have quite severe side effects for some people, but we're still not recommending an Islamic solution which has no side effects at all. So we have to balance that, keep that in mind. But it is difficult in a non-Muslim society, so you do the best that you can. You don't prescribe something which is haram, and you try to just give those little hints and recommendations by your actions, by small words that you say, so that the person would realize and see the beauty of Islam. Even if you're not allowed to say it, but you can get someone else to say it to them. It could be, you could say, for example, in the hospital, I'm not allowed to say it. You know, brothers, if you just wait outside the hospital, there's a man coming out who really wants to know about Islam. So if you just stop him randomly and start talking to him about Islam, maybe you can do that, inshallah. And Allah Azza wa Jalla. How can we be happy and smile? Like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, knowing that this life is not worth it and we can't get attached to it. What's very important is to have a balance. No doubt the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to cry. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to feel sadness. No doubt. But there were times when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to smile, particularly smiling at your brother. He said, لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا ولو أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طلق. Don't belittle any good deed, even if it's just meeting your brother with a smiling face. When we think about the dunya, we don't want to be overly happy and overly enjoying. But sometimes what makes you smile is the deen. What makes you smile is the little boy who comes or the little girl who comes and they're praying and they're practicing their religion. Little kids, and you smile at them because you smile at their innocence, you smile at their happiness, you smile at the fact that they're practicing the deen. You're not smiling because you've got a nice car outside. And sometimes you smile because of the blessings of Allah. I'm thinking of an ayah that came out of my mind. Now, I was thinking of the ayah, the statement of Allah Azza wa Jalla, فتبسم ضاحكا من قولها وقال رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأدخلني برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. Sulaiman smiled and he laughed. Why did he smile and laugh? When he heard the speech of the ant, the namla. And he said, my Lord, make me the power and ability for me to be grateful for your favors which you bestowed upon me and on my parents, and allow me to do righteous good deeds. The point is, he smiled at the blessing of Allah, that Allah let him hear the sound of the ant. So he smiled at that blessing. How do we react to Islamophobic comments? Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَلَا تَسْتَوِ الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةُ إِدْفَعْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Good deeds and bad deeds are not equal. Respond in the way that is best. Give the best response. Don't give yourself, don't go down to their level. They said something bad about your religion. You're living in a non-Muslim country. You're living as an aqaliyah, a minority. What you can't do is to then give a bad comment back and then they say, see, these Muslims are just like they said. Rather, in this is where you have to have al-afu wa sabr. You have to have pardoning and letting it go. And give them a beautiful understanding of Islam. And there was a nice story one of the brothers told me. You know about a neighbor who was being really, the neighbor was being really, really rude and he didn't like Muslims and everything. And one day his car doesn't start. The brother is there, so, subhanAllah, you go and speak to that person and you say a small word to them, right? You say to them, can I help you? They look at you like, what you going to do for me? You people, you just, you Muslims. And you say, we Muslims, we're not like you think. Let me give you a hand. And subhanAllah, after that, the person's heart melts and they start to become soft and good with you and kind with you. Because they just got a wrong idea of what Islam is. But what you mustn't do is justify their belief about you. That is when you're a minority. People say, shouldn't we fight against them? That's when you have power. When you're a majority. If they come to a Muslim country and they insult Islam, then they're going to have the law. It's going to apply to them. They're going to have to suffer the consequences of insulting Islam according to the law of the Muslim country. But if we come to as a minority and they say something bad about Islam, this is where we show them the beauty of Islam. We forgive, we pardon, we give them a beautiful impression of Islam, and they feel really embarrassed because of what they said. Ikhwani, we don't have a lot of time. want to give like a 1-minute answer to each one. Like it will be a bit shorter than normal because we have only 5 minutes before the salah. We still have to also put the equipment away. The quick one that was easier to mention: mental health affects communities like ours. Is Islam the solution, or should we go to a professional? I don't see any harm in going to a professional, but I would recommend you go to a Muslim. If you go to a psychiatrist or a counselor, go to a Muslim who understands what Islam is asking and can give you professional help. Sometimes you don't have a choice but to go to a non-Muslim, and that's not haram. But it's much better if you can go to a Muslim who understands Allah much best. How can you be a true mutawakkil, believing completely in Allah and leaving everything to Him? The honest answer is seek knowledge. Because the more you seek knowledge, the more you learn what it means to practice tawakkul and to actually actualize it. Sometimes life events and situations get to us and bring us down. How can we deal with that so that we can be steadfast in our beliefs and bring our iman up? Ask Allah to renew the iman in your heart. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْإِيمَانَ لَيَخْلَقُ فِي جَوْفِ أَحَدِكُمْ كَمَا يَخْلَقُ الثَّوْبُ فَاسْأَلُوا اللَّهَ أَنْ يُجَدِّدَ الْإِيمَانَ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. Iman wears out in the heart of one of you like the thawb wears out. So ask Allah to renew the iman that's in your heart. And realize that this iman going up and down is actually something that happens. It's quite normal. Like the Prophet ﷺ said to Hanzala, وَلَكِنْ يَا حَنْظَلَ سَاعَةٍ وَسَاعَةٍ. Oh Hanzala, there's a time for this and a time for that. But the person goes back to the Quran, reading it, the du'as we mentioned. They go back to their seeking knowledge. They go back to fighting against themselves. And by that, inshallah ta'ala, they overcome those difficulties. Can we as a Muslim community give da'wah on the internet? How can we avoid ostentation and greed? So first of all, there's nothing wrong with giving da'wah on the internet, because using the internet is from al-wasa'il, which are permissible to use as long as your da'wah is in accordance with the Prophet ﷺ. But your da'wah has to be in line with the statement of Allah Azza wa Jalla, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. That ayah, I did an explanation of it in a da'wah workshop. If you go to YouTube and type in Muhammad Tim Da'wah workshop, it should be there inshallah ta'ala, and we explain what the ayah means. And that's how we have to approach it. We call to Allah, we don't call to ourselves, we call with knowledge of the person we're giving da'wah to, knowledge about our religion, knowledge about the limits, and we call by making our da'wah clear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect and removing people's misconceptions, and by ourselves implementing what we give da'wah to. And the last question, inshallah ta'ala, what is your biggest advice for a revert to fight against old habits and your experience as a revert? So my experience you can find on YouTube again, type in Muhammad Tim revert story or Islam story, you should find it there inshallah. Advice is very simple. I'm going to give you 4 pieces of advice and we're going to finish with this. Number 1, continuously seeking knowledge. Don't stop. Every day, add something to your knowledge about Islam. Number 2, practice what you learn. You learn something, practice it. You learned you have to do this, do it. You learned you have to not do this, stop doing it. Number 3. So number 1 is get knowledge and practice it. Number 3 is to surround yourself with good people. Have good people around you, good friends around you. People who will help you inshallah ta'ala. And the 4th one is to make sure to give importance to what is important first of all, including your prayer. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. O you who believe, seek Allah's help through patience and prayer. Inna Allaha ma'as-sabirin. Allah is with those who are patient. My dear brothers and sisters, forgive me for the short answers at the end. That is what Allah Azza wa Jalla made easy for me to mention. It really has been a beautiful experience. Wallahi, I feel honored that Allah Azza wa Jalla gave us the ability to come here to share these words with you. I really appreciate you listening and giving your time. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us what will benefit us, to benefit us with what He teaches us, to increase us in knowledge. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla, as He gathered us together in this masjid, to gather us together in